I wrote this recalling the memories of our days at our lakeside log home on Beaver Lake in Erinsville, Ontario, from 1993 to 2003, and the good times recalled with good friends there. I call this Of Log, Lake and Loons by Joyce Wilde Teetzel, and I wrote it May 10th, 2003. A log home, nestled mid-grove of trees, was where we enjoyed our life of ease. Our view was, through fronds of pine, of a gentle lake most of the time. In the distance, a tiny island set apart had a leaning white birch as its mark. At sunrise, around it I'd often canoe, for paddling over there was a lovely view. From the raised deck we saw the lake isle trees, and except at midday there was always a breeze. Several old, huge oaks shaded the lawn from each side, and beneath each, small maples or cedars really tried. Our cottage sat atop the slope to the shore, where the dock moored a boat, sailboat, and more. A path of broad stepstones curved down to the lake around a raised stone flower bed we tried to create. Each window offered a tree-framed view of that lake and trees or passerby in canoe. The gray log structure with 8 dormers up top had a curved roof edge, allowing rains drop. A narrow, low porch ran across front and back, and the wide bi-level deck could hold quite a pack. We had window boxes of flowers, and half barrels, too, with geraniums and impatiens in multicolored hue. The interior, with walls of bark-edged slab pine and the wide plank floors, had all mellowed with time. Peeking in, one saw charm and comfort, we're told, as inside lighting cast a glow of burnished gold. It looked like a Christmas card, or a fairy tale home, but a place where more laughter than tears were known. We loved our winters there with a fireplace lit, and friends visiting added to enjoyment of it. I recall each Christmas, our great room aglow, as lamps highlighted open bridge 2-story flow. Pine stair rails we entwined with festive wreath, and the red bows enhanced the greenery beneath. The round table, with the lace cloth and candles there, brought warmth of tradition, yet with a casual air. Nothing pleased us more than to have people come and share dinner and fireside, as they have done. Sometimes in winter, with outside lights turned on, we'd see huge snowflakes drifting slowly to ground. Sitting with fireplace alight and our lamps turned low, we viewed winter outside as a magical show. Blizzards I loved, with boughs bent low with snow and the drive banked high where the plows go. I loved the winter almost better than spring, yet each season its special delight would bring. I loved the smell of chili sauce, or that of baking bread, of pots of simmered stew of chicken, or of beef instead. I loved the smell of baking, whether pies or cakes or bars, and making jam or pickles or other things in jars. I loved to bake for anyone I called a special friend, things I thought they'd like. Baking I could send. I hope they all enjoyed it all as much as we did too, for 'twas done with heart, just neighborly to do. Music played or whistled sounded daily in our home. CDs played quite loudly as I worked alone, or practice on the keyboard sometimes caused chagrin, as self-taught I fumbled, searching chords within. In the kitchen, where I spent much of my time, was a window view of a favorite tree of mine, a big pine. Had mature branches arching with grace, and when the wind blew, it stood waving in place. In the winter, those boughs hung deep with snow, bowing them lower than they should go. Each one I could reach would get a good shake to set each branch free, lest any might break. Meanwhile, Keith defined projects for each day, seldom objecting to hobby clutter in his way. He survived my oil paint splatter and book club too, seldom minding the dust on tables there in view. He enjoyed boating and wetting the many fish lines, and chats in Robert's office were always good times. He enjoyed all the flowers he'd planted about and sitting on the deck when the mosquitoes weren't out. Feisty chickadees defended their bird feeder's seed as they ravenously enjoyed the abundance with greed. But gymnastic raccoons or squirrels, they climbed up there over deflectors of sap pails in witless warfare. We saw ospreys high above, teaching fledglings to soar. Catching thermals, they would swoop and screech more should youngsters flap wings too soon in that flight, as soaring was a leap of faith that must be done right. Early one morning, drifting quietly in the canoe, Mother Loon and 2 ducklings drifted with me too. When Ma Loon dove deep and her young stayed afloat, Mum Loon saw her kids separated by my boat. She rose out of the water in a frantic huge flap, a view to threaten me or save them from a trap. If I'd only had my camera, what a photo op I missed, as Mum Loon flapped, scolded them, and at me hissed. But, lying in bed at night when all is quiet and still, that sound of loons calling with laugh so shrill is hauntingly comforting, and of Canadian lakes one part that makes living in that environment a thing of the heart. When lawns were all tidy and flowers in bloom, there was no prettier place under sun and the moon. When stars were brilliant against dark black of sky, we counted satellites as they moved there on high. One night, the lake amazed us, reflecting the sky. Each star mirrored precisely, fooled the eye. The full moon's twin looked exactly the same, not a shiver of lake surface to counter the claim. The reverse view of the real sky could be mistaken, but suddenly the still scene before us was shaken. A loon broke lake surface near a planet of note, and as lake ripples widened, that second sky was afloat. In sun or rain or hail, I'd take my morning hike, and down the rural road I'd either walk or bike. I loved the early morning with the dew still on the grass and waving hello to neighbors as their cars would pass. The tree-lined road with its lake view on both sides had scenery so lovely I'd whistle to my stride. "Oh, what a beautiful morning" was oft my main tune, especially in early summer, a sunny morn in June. My whistle was often my weather forecast scent, as April showers or stormy weather meant whatever it was, and whistling just made it sunnier instead. But some tunes were CDs that just stuck in my head. I remember a special summer event we planned with talented neighbors who lived close at hand, advertised as Music Afloat, a musical day. Boating neighbors could anchor to hear music play. Some folks settled on the deck or the lawn, non-boaters who just listened or burst forth in song. 6 guests staying with us were told at that scene that this quiet weekend with us was just merely routine. Guitars of Colin and Brian rocked songs with style, amped by Mark's keyboard too, all heard for a mile. And Rick with guitar performed with usual great voice as he played and sang songs of anyone's choice. Sunshine and music, not more could we ask. With nibblies and libation, 'twasn't no difficult task. That evening, as our barbecue fed about 52, we ate hamburgers on the deck with a sunset view. It was a capital event, our Brian did say, as grateful hugs were expressed to musicians that day. Applause and cheering during the 3-hour event showed how all enjoyed it and how well it all went. At Christmas and New Year's, knowing we were alone, Olivers shared family times in each charming home. Good folks all, and property managers we found in Brian and Colin to help in yard work around. When we were away, it was a comforting thought with Brian or Colin trusted to look after the lot. They inspected the place or turned up the heat or checked to see if water pipes had a leak. If they held any parties while we were away, they left scant trace but knew it was okay. They taught us on computers, shared their music to boot, and introduced the new 90s to this old coot. But when our property managers left for U of T, the cottage property was a struggle, you see. So when opportunity knocked with an offer to tempt, we thought, okay, let's move. And to Toronto we went. Should you think moving fun, read my rhyme. Moving is a moving experience, if you have time. It's just a recollection of things one must go through, and thinking back, it was a funny but hectic ado. One thing about life is, it's never dull. Constantly blowing each life's sail are the capricious winds of change in life's direction. It's destiny to arrange. Many pictures we took, without and within, our memory of those years lest it grew dim. A catalogue of events, so fleeting in mind, but a decade in years, a package of life in time.